Hello and welcome back to the Be the Hero channel. In this video, I'm going to break down what each of the planets controls in our birth chart. So if you're new to astrology, or if you even have been into astrology for a long time and you don't know what the planets are controlling or what role they play in your birth chart, watch this video. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name's Isabelle and I help you understand who you are using personality typing and astrology, because I was the person who often felt lost and confused on their direction in life because I lacked a sense of self and I didn't really know what my desires were. Then I discovered the Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, astrology, and so much more, and I finally had a picture on who I could be and what my desires could be. So now I'm here to teach you these things so you can understand them as well and maybe even understand yourself a little better. Now, before I dive into what each of the planets controls in astrology in your birth chart, hit the link in the description below to get the free birth chart workbook where you can learn about the basics of your chart using journal prompts. If you're new to astrology, this is perfect for beginners and it takes less than 15 minutes to do the whole thing. So grab the free birth chart workbook in the link in the description below. So chances are you're watching this video because you just opened your birth chart or a friend's birth chart and you're wondering, I'm so confused because there seems to be counter acting statements. First it says I'm aggressive, now it says I'm tame, now it says I'm this, but I'm also this. I'm so confused. And this is because we have different planets in our birth chart. So not only do we have a sun sign, which is the first one we tend to learn about in astrology, but we also have a moon sign, a Venus sign, a Mercury. And these are each different aspects of our being, different aspects of our personality that make up who we are. And the zodiac sign that those are in dictates the theme for those. So you already know your sun sign likely, and the sun is oftentimes something that seems inaccurate or just a little accurate, and that's because it's just the ego self. It represents what we generally value and how we generally act. It's also how we act when our ego feels threatened. It's what our defenses are in many ways. But we also have so many other aspects of our being, which I'm going to break down right now. So like I said, first we have our sun sign. The sun moves every 30 days, and so it's very general to that 1 month period. Anyone born within that 1 month period is going to have these similar traits, which is these core values. I like to think as the sun sign as generally our core values. So as an example, I'm a sun in Aries, which means I am generally bold, brave, and impulsive. And when it comes to living life, I'm seeking to live off of that impulse. And also, it's our ego self. So when I feel threatened egotistically and I feel that my survival is threatened, I'm going to come off as defensive and aggressive. That is the sun sign. The sun sign is kind of nice to know when reading a birth chart, but it's actually not that important, frankly. What's actually more important is the next one you're going to read about, which is your moon sign. Your moon sign is your emotional self. I have a longer video breaking down the moon sign that I'll link right here. But the moon sign, the sign your moon is in, shows you what your emotions are, what emotions you tend to struggle with, what your emotional patterns are, and what you need for emotional fulfillment. So again, for example, I'm a moon in Cancer. That means that I am very sensitive emotionally, and I need to be nurtured a lot for emotional fulfillment. I need to feel emotionally safe. I'm also going to be very in touch with my emotions. So whereas my sun sign says, oh, I'm very bold and brave, that's just how people generally perceive me, when deep down at my core, at my emotions, this softest part of me, I am very sensitive and gentle. Mercury, which you'll read about next, is the planet of communication. And Mercury is very fear-mongered nowadays because of its 2 to 3 times annual retrograde. And that's because oftentimes Mercury is misunderstood and not seen for what it truly is, which is simply our mind. So sun is ego self, just general gist of who we are. Moon is our emotions, the deepest parts of us that we keep closest to our heart. Mercury is how we think and speak. Whatever sign our Mercury is in shows us what our communication style will be. And this probably makes a lot of sense because if you've ever communicated with a human being ever, you can be shocked at times at how differently they've thought through something, thinking, how could you have thought like that? We spent days fighting because I didn't understand that you were coming from a completely different perspective and viewing this situation completely differently from me. And that's because Mercury can be in 12 different signs, which shows 12 different ways we communicate. Example, I'm a Mercury in Aries, which means when it comes to communication, I speak on impulse, oftentimes speaking before I even think, and I want to be impulsive. I want to be loud. I want to be bold in my speech. So sometimes I'll extremify my statements. You can probably tell in the way that I communicate with you guys here that my Mercury's in Aries. So sun sign is general, moon sign is emotions, Mercury is how you speak and communicate. It's also how you learn. So I learn best through action because Aries is all about taking action. Some Mercury signs prefer being methodical. Check out my video playlist on Mercury through the signs. Next, you'll learn about Venus. Venus is simply your love language. So the sun is about what you value out of living for yourself more so. It's how you generally are. You're general. Just think sun sign, general. Venus shows you what makes you feel the most loved. So example, I'm a Venus in Taurus. That means I highly value commitment and comfort when it comes to love. And it's not always just about romance, because oftentimes Venus is thought of as love life and just what other people provide in flirting. It just shows you what you value in life itself. So when you look at your Venus, it'll show you what you seek in your love life, for sure, what makes you feel the most loved, but it'll also show you how you can show yourself the most love. Example again, I can show myself the most love by providing myself comfort and commitment towards my best self, making sure I'm there for myself, providing myself self-sufficiency. For women, Venus shows how you want to act in a relationship, and for men, Venus shows what you seek from a female counterpart. So men will be attracted to whatever their Venus sign is. So as an example, if a man had a Venus in Aries, he's going to be attracted to women who have Aries qualities. And for women, if she had like a Venus in Taurus, in my situation, I want to be able to embrace my Taurus traits in a relationship. Next, you have Mars. And Mars is all about physical action. And oftentimes people get confused between the difference of Mercury and Mars. So to recap, Mercury is all about how you think. Mars is simply just about how you like to do. And so, an example, my Mercury is in Gemini, which means that I like to move in a fast-paced, highly stimulated environment because Gemini loves to learn. And so I learn best through doing. I want to move with my hands a lot, and I have a lot of mental energy, which I need to channel through physical action. If you, for example, had a Mars in Virgo, you would want to just follow the system when it comes to taking action. So sun is general self. Moon is your emotions and deepest part of you, that what you need for emotional fulfillment. Your Mercury is how you learn and think and communicate. Your Venus is your love language. Your Mars is how you like to take action. And again, Venus and Mars play this feminine masculine role. So women want to embrace their Venus. Men want to embrace their Mars in relationship. So say a man's Mars was in Scorpio, he wants to be as powerful and seductive as possible in a relationship. And for women, women are going to be attracted to men that are like their own Mars sign. So for example, with a Mars in Gemini myself, I enjoy I enjoy men who are mentally stimulating and have high intellect because I like mental stimulus. Then you get into less personal planets. So Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are referred to often as the big five. And these are ones that are more personal, that make up who you are. After that point, we get into less personal planets that certainly still play a role in your personality, however, not as much. So next you would learn about Jupiter. And Jupiter doesn't move as often as the rest of the planets, usually moving about every year to my understanding. However, I will admit that number might be off. Jupiter simply represents just expansion. It kind of just shows you where your luck may lie. So as an example, I have a Jupiter in Virgo, and that just means that the more I am selfless and detail-oriented, the better luck and expansion I will experience. So this is generally what Jupiter represents, and I will go on to explain what the other planets represent. However, know that they're not as important when starting off reading your birth chart. Really just focus on those big five and your north node, which I will get to in a minute. So Jupiter represents your expansion. What makes you feel expansive? What can bring you fortune? Then opposing Jupiter's energy, we have Saturn. Saturn is our responsibilities. If you want to learn how you can be more responsible and mature, look to Saturn in the sign it's in, because that will show you how you act responsible. So my Jupiter's in Virgo. I will feel expansive when I am more selfless and giving, but at the same time, I will lack restriction and I won't really be good at managing myself. I could expand too far and burn out. So then I can look to Saturn, and my Saturn's in Cancer. I am most responsible when I nurture myself and nurture other people. And so Saturn is all about responsibility. It shows you what you're like and how you can be responsible. What you're like when you're responsible is what I meant to say. You also then have Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Uranus is like a lightning bolt in astrology. It shows you where if anything crosses its path, it will lead to sudden unexpected changes, or the energy you can embrace to experience sudden unexpected changes. So this is how irrelevant I consider Uranus for my own personal chart, is I can barely remember what my Uranus is in. I'm pretty sure it's in Pisces, but I might have to go check that later. For me, having a Uranus in Pisces means that I can experience massive changes or unexpected changes in my life the more I embrace Piscean energy. I think actually that Uranus is most important to consider when looking at how current transits overlap over a chart. So if maybe the Sun or Mercury was to cross over the path of Pisces in the year, in February, my Uranus could be triggered. But less relevant for understanding your birth chart at its basics, and less relevant for when not looking at current astrology. So just pretty much avoid Uranus for now if you're new to astrology. Uranus can be more important later on, and I will do a longer video breaking down Uranus later. Then you have Neptune, and Neptune moves every 14 years. So it's much more of a collective mentality we embrace. It shows us our idealism, is how I like to think of it. Neptune also represents the dream world, so it can show you how you get lost in thought. I frankly do not even remember what my Neptune is in right now. But the sign Neptune is in tells you how you like to dream, what idealisms you hold. And so this can show you collectively what you in that 14-year age gap value the most and what your ideals are. And Pluto is very interesting because in a way, it is much more important in my view than Uranus or Neptune, potentially even Jupiter or Saturn, because it shows you your karma and your wounds. Pluto is all about death and transformation. And so the sign that your Pluto is in will show you what kind of wound you experience. And again, Pluto moves, I believe, signs every 80 years. So much less personal. Understanding your big five as a basic, as you're getting into astrology, is going to be much more important for you. If you're interested in learning more about what your collective wound is and something that you need to heal in you, you can definitely look to Pluto for that. Two other aspects you have in your chart that are not necessarily planets but points that I consider, actually three more points in a chart that are important, is the north and south node. This is by far one of my favorite aspects to look at in a birth chart because it changes the game. The south node represents your theoretically past life karma. It also represents simply the overused gifts and talents you have that limit you in this lifetime. And your north node is your highest path to growth. So looking at your north node can tell you what your growth is in this lifetime, in the sign it's in. As an example, my north node is in Taurus, which means I need to move towards more self-sufficiency and groundedness in my life, owning my self-worth. Whereas I have a tendency with my south node in Scorpio to merge with other people, merge my identity with other people, and rely on other people too much. Then you have Lilith, and I just finished a video series breaking down Lilith through the signs, and Lilith represents the parts of us we feel the most ashamed of. If you are interested in self-healing, Lilith is extremely important for that. And then you have Chiron, and I do use Chiron very often in readings, but again, if you're new to astrology, don't necessarily look at Chiron yet. It might just leave you a little overwhelmed and confused. Chiron represents things that you support basically in other people, but don't embrace in yourself. For example, I have a Chiron in Capricorn. So I believe everyone should follow their dreams, achieve material success, but me? I don't deserve material success. I don't deserve recognition. We don't need that. So again, Chiron is referred to as the wounded healer, which is where it represents the things that we support in other people but don't in ourselves. Great aspect for healing. So in conclusion, if you are new to astrology, you should 100% pay attention to not necessarily your sun, but in fact your moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and your North Node in Lilith. Those are the aspects I consider most important. I hope this video helped you understand each of the planets simply. If you have more questions about the planets, I will do a video series breaking down each planet shortly. Let me know which one you're still confused about in those comments below. And while you're down there, grab the free birth chart workbook if you have not yet grabbed it. If you want to dive more into astrology and you're interested in self-development, check out the Making Mindfulness Fun bundle in the link in the description below, where for a limited time, I'm offering all 30 of our workbooks and courses on astrology and self-development for only $30. So just grab it now while I'm still offering it, and you get exclusive access to these workbooks and courses. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out the rest of our videos breaking down your birth chart. Once again, my name's Isabelle, and from my heart to yours, namaste.